What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite complications ever, the GMT complication. Now, guys, I know not a lot of us have been really traveling for a while. Myself, personally, I've been like trapped in this room for about 13 months, so I'm fine. I'm not going crazy. But I've made this episode because I want it to give us something to look forward to. Hopefully, if we take a look at some affordable GMT watches, it will give us hope that maybe when everything goes back to normal, whatever normalcy is at this point, we can get a GMT watch on our wrist and we can travel very, just really far away where no one will find us. What I'm saying is the GMT complication is very useful if you do travel because you can track a second time zone, and even if you are stuck in your tiny little office, it also allows you to keep track of, people elsewhere. So if you have loved ones in a different time zone or maybe colleagues in a different time zone, it helps you track wherever they are, and that's, a very fun, useful complication. And again, hopefully, fingers crossed, this episode will give us some hope for the future. So let's just talk about some affordable GMT watches. It's 1:03 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okie dokie. So guys, I know the term affordable gets me in some hot water because it's a very subjective term. My spending habits and abilities might be very different from another person's, and yours might differ from another person's. So we're just gonna keep everything under $1,000, and that gives us a lot of room to work with. I mean, there's a lot of watches under that $1,000 price range, or price point, I should say, and the watches on this list run the gamut. So guys, yeah, under $1,000, some really great GMT watches. You don't have to break the bank to get a really useful, fun complication. So the first watch we're going to be taking a look at is actually perhaps one of my favorites on the list, and it's the Alpina Startimer Pilot Heritage GMT in Sunset Blue. Now, the reference number is AL555LNS4H6. The first thing you'll notice about this watch is that it has a very vintage kind of retro aesthetic. It's almost like a cushion case super compressor, and the GMT is actually not a hand. It's actually that inner dial. You'll see that very sleek arrow that allows you to kind of maneuver it, move that arrow, align it to the second time zone. So you're not getting a huge hand that's also on the center spindle. It's a very sleek kind of old school dial there. And again, you're going to manipulate that GMT complication with that secondary crown. Very, very fun, old school, vintage looking watch, and it's right up my alley because I'm pretty much a vintage guy. And adding to that vintage aesthetic, you're getting a box crystal. Now, it is sapphire. If this watch was to come out around the 70s, it would definitely not have a sapphire crystal. You're getting the Alpina automatic caliber AL555. You're getting super luminova lume. And the fun thing about watches like this is it's really, really functional. It has an old school aesthetic, but you can actually use it modern day and not have to baby it. Again, if you had one of these old, perhaps super compressors, if it did have a complication like the GMT, you probably wouldn't want to bang it around. But this, you can actually travel with it and not worry about it because, again, it's a modern watch. 42mm case diameter, about 12mm thick, which is really not bad for an automatic sports watch with a GMT complication. A whole lot of watch around here, and again, you're getting a 100-meter water resistance rating. This is truly a functional watch, and it's coming right under $1,000. I've been able to find it for $956 new, and about $990 new. So again, just under that $1,000 price point. Next up, a watch I've actually reviewed here, the Boldr Globetrotter. Now, the one I had in for review was actually, I guess, a Batman bezel, again, blue and black, and had a blue GMT hand with a very Boldr orange splash there on the second hand. I really wouldn't consider this a cushion case because Boldr has very sleek, sharp cuts on their cases, but it would be, I guess, kind of like a modern cushion case. Now this was on a bit of the larger side, 44mm case diameter, 300-meter water resistance rating with a threaded crown. So this is very much, you know, a GMT diver. And it's powered by the Swiss ETA 28932 automatic GMT movement. The lug to lug was 50mm and it was about 14.5mm thick. So if you do have slender wrists, this might not be the watch for you, but boy, is it a whole lot of watch for not a ton of money. In fact, you can find them online right now, brand new, for $7.99. Now, the unfortunate thing is a lot of them have been sold out, so there's a few online available. You kind of do have to do digging, but if I find a good link for you guys, I will put it in the description below, but no guarantees it will still be there, you know, when this episode goes live. So, okay, we've taken a look at two automatics, but let's say you want something like super convenient, you never have to have it on a watch winder, and you can kind of let it chill for a while, and it will always be running. Well, we got to start looking at some eco drive. That's right, the Citizen Promaster. Now, Citizen reference numbers, let's just take a deep breath and we'll get through it. BJ712859G. Okay, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below, but this is a very high visibility, almost has like a Seiko Monster aesthetic, but again, you're getting that really, really cool Citizen Eco Drive movement. It will get power from artificial or natural light sources, and yeah, it's a GMT diver with a 200-meter water resistance rating. Now, this might sit a little bit on the larger side, coming in at 44mm, but you know, it's very high visibility. If you got something like really, really small with this type of dial layout, all those indexes and the markers and the bezel and everything, it might kind of become a little bit too crowded and busy. So I think this looks just fine. And yeah, again, Eco Drive movement with a GMT complication and a date window. Awesome. And what's even better, this is coming in under $400. Actually, I've been able to find them brand new for $367.95. So yeah, this is some definite value here on the list. Now, coming in just above $500 is a Certina, the Certina DS Action GMT. Really, really cool black PVD coated case. This is kind of more of like a sleek tactical field watch, integrated crown guards, just a very, very high visible, really nice contrast on that dial. The only thing that I don't like about this watch is I would have liked a more of a bordered date window, or perhaps just a dark date wheel. Again, this is one of those instances, excuse me, where I think the date window kind of looks like an afterthought. Like the whole watch with the PVD coating and the black chapter ring, well, two-tone chapter ring, and again the matte black dial, I think that date wheel just sticks out like a sore thumb. So if they made it a little bit more sleeker, a little bit more stealth, following that whole kind of sleek stealth aesthetic by giving it maybe a matte black date wheel, which would have been very easy for them to do, I think it just would have looked that much nicer. But still a whole bunch of watch here. 200-meter water resistance rating with a threaded crown. Again, you're getting that Certina Powermatic 80 movement. Really, it's the Swatch Powermatic 80 movement, but 80-hour power reserve. Again, this is a watch that you can wear and put it on your nightstand for a couple days and not worry about it at all, because that Powermatic 80 is a beast. 43.1mm case diameter, about 13mm thick. We've got a sapphire crystal here. Again, I don't know how you guys feel about that. I really wouldn't call this faux patina, but the lume indexes are colored, so I know people don't like lume to be painted or have faux patina because they think it obscures the vibrancy of the lume. In my experience, sometimes that is the case, sometimes it's not. For instance, my Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical has faux patina, and the lume is actually really, really bright on that. So I think this looks really nice. They also, instead of this kind of subdued, like muted orange two-tone, they have a green, like more of an olive drab green variant, and I really, really like that one. You are getting a display case back. It's just a very interesting watch, and again, a whole lot of watch for $549. Crazy. Now, we took a look at a super compressor at the beginning of this episode, and here's another one. This it doesn't really follow the same vintage aesthetic as that Alpina Startimer, but you know, anytime you see a super compressor, excuse me, it really does give you that kind of vintage vibe. But this is the Mido Multifort, reference number M005-929-11-05100, coming in at $799.99. That was the least expensive I could find it brand new. 42 millimeter case diameter. You're getting a thickness of 10.35 millimeters, which is actually incredibly reasonable for this automatic sports watch with a GMT complication. You're getting a 100 meter water resistance rating. You are getting a date window and a GMT complication. Again, some really nice contrast, really beautiful matte black dial, how it just flows into that chapter ring. But again, the one critique I would give this watch is the same critique I gave that Certina. Give it a dark date wheel, guys. Color match the date wheel with the dial and it will make the watch look that much more sleek. Just my opinion. But the blue and red contrast, I really do like that. Again, I guess you could call it a Pepsi blue and black, but they did it in a very sleek way, a very slick way that you don't often see. Again, they split those colors in a very, very interesting, the 18 and the 6. I love it. Moving on to a watch I hear a lot of my viewers talk about. In fact, when I did that Longines episode not too long ago, the comment section was going crazy over the Longines Conquest VHP watches. Well, they have a GMT complication in some of these, and yeah, 43 millimeters, kind of a sporty, I guess if it was smaller than 40 millimeters, it could be a contender for like the same type of Oyster Perpetual wrist presence, kind of a sporty, more subdued watch, but at 43 millimeters, it is a bit big. You are getting integrated crown guards, coming in just under $1,000 at $975. This is reference number L372827666. You are getting, again, this is a lot of watch. Black PVD coated stainless steel, GMT complication, EOL, which is the end of life indicator. So when this watch does run out of juice, it's probably gonna, you know, tick 2 times each second. Gear position detection system, magnetism detection and correction, perpetual calendar, shock correction, smart crown, a 50 meter water resistance rating. But I think what most people really are interested about this watch is the VHP, which is the very high precision battery operated quartz. So of course it is a quartz watch, but when these came out, people freaked out about them. They thought they were really sharp. And again, this one's a bit more subdued, being that like black PVD coated case and bezel, really high contrast with that white dial and a really nice red splash arrow tip on that GMT hand. So really interesting watch, a whole lot of watch, very kind of high tech watch for just under $1,000. And last but not least, you know, I had to bring up one of my old favorites, the Hamilton Jazzmaster. I've always said every watch collector should at least experience a Hamilton Jazzmaster. It doesn't have to be a GMT. They have a bunch. They have world times, they have open hearts, they have chronographs like the Jazzmaster Maestro. Just, although the Jazzmaster Maestro, admittedly, it's, I would say, a definite homage of the IWC Portuguese chronograph, but still an absolute beautiful, beautiful, beautiful design. I will say also the Maestro is very big on the wrist, but I digress. The Hamilton Jazzmaster line is probably one of the best series to come out from Hamilton. Unfortunately, the field watches get all the glory, and you know, that's to be expected. That was one of their earlier watches, and it kind of won all of our wars, right? All of our GIs were wearing Hamiltons on their wrist. But all of that history aside, the Jazzmasters are just gorgeous, really highly detailed, highly finished watches, and they're really, really interesting with their complications and dial layouts, especially when we're looking at what you get for the money. I would compare these kind of to the Oris Atelier line, although the Oris Atelier is much more expensive with all of those. But okay, Hamilton Jazzmaster GMT, a bit sporty, although you could take it off of that bracelet and put it on a leather strap. About 42 millimeters, very, very high visibility for sure. You are getting the destination markers on the chapter ring, and you are getting a date complication at the 6 o'clock. Beautiful red GMT hand. Of course, a sapphire crystal. The most interesting part about this watch though is the price. Again, coming in well under $1,000, $709.99 for a Hamilton Jazzmaster automatic, highly detailed, highly finished, a whole lot of watch here for around 700 bucks and some change. That's crazy. Hamilton crushes it with the Jazzmaster series. So there you have it, guys. This is proof that you can get a really, really fun complication, a really useful complication, often seen as a really luxurious complication, and you don't really have to break the bank. GMT, really useful and gives us something to look forward to, because hopefully when things go back to whatever normal is, we can just get out of here with a GMT complication on our wrist. So let me know in the comment section below, because again, commenting really does help the algorithm right now. It helps my channel a bunch. Let me know in the comment section, which was your favorite on the list? Which do you have? Do you have a GMT watch that isn't in this price range? Let me know about that as well. Again, I currently own the Explorer 2 16570, which is a GMT. It was actually my first automatic GMT. And yeah, of course, that's not in this price range, but leave me the comment and let me know which would be your favorite, which would you add on the list, and which do you own? So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me on this episode. I will see you on the next one. There's a whole bunch of ways to support the channel. You can join the channel memberships. You click that join button next to the subscribe button. It's like YouTube's Patreon. $4.99 gets you access to that members only Discord chat, and you get some extra content over there. And you know, there's a whole bunch of affiliate links in the description below. Excuse me. When you click those, you help the channel out a bunch, and you can check out my personal website, www.thetimetellershop.com. Easily, the easiest way to support the channel is just to keep doing what you're doing and watching the episodes. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.